Welcome to the Life with Kring on Air, a podcast about purpose, parenting, and people. In here, we hope to talk and collaborate on how to thrive in the 30s with your 30 something host, Trisha Julio.
Hello, friends! Welcome to another episode of Life with Kring on Air. Today is Sunday, and time check it's 8:45 p.m. and I'm going to talk about my Sunday reflections. So, I was about to record this right after the service, but we were busy in house. Julio, we are cleaning and after cleaning, I cook pata. I actually recorded while cooking the pata, but unfortunately, I forgot to turn on the mic. So that was such a heartbreak. But I kind of lamented for a while and then decided that the whatever, I just have to have some time to record again. So yep, I'm taking some time, maybe some 15 minutes to talk about my Sunday reflections. So bear with me as I will recall what I learned this morning from the Sunday service. But before that, we would like to thank again for all your supports. The podcast is available in 8 platforms now. Hooray! So yesterday, it's available in 6 platforms, but as of today, it's now available in 8 platforms. I don't know yet if some platforms will be added soon, but for now, it's available in Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Breaker, Overcast, Pocketcast, and Radio Public. So if you don't have any Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything of those platforms, you could just go to anchor.fm and search for Kring July. So it will show you the link and there's a play button there, so you could still listen to my blabberings in anchor.fm. So I hope you are gonna listen, and as usual, please give me some feedback as I really need it to improve myself. And as I've always mentioned, most of my recordings from here on is probably raw because I'm trying to build my skill in public speaking and to speak my mind accurately and as nice as possible so that if I going to face a crowd and I'm gonna do it in a big crowd, I wouldn't be nervous and I will have the skill to do it properly. So thank you so much for helping me achieve my goal. Okay, so moving on to give you an idea of what you will be listening today, here's an overview of my second Sunday service reflection. Are you excited? I hope so because today it's gonna be an exciting topic. It's one that maybe we are very familiar being a Christian, Catholic, born again alike. But as for me, I'm a born again Christian. But when I was a Catholic, I actually remembered this gospel. So it's the gospel for today's word. We are talking about Mark 6:30, wherein Jesus feeds the 5,000. So, like my previous episode, I always make it a point to check Wikipedia or Google on a little trivia about the topic that I'm going to talk about. So it's something that I wanted to do so that aside from talking about what I learned, I also learned something new by searching in Wikipedia or Google. So it's like hitting three birds in one stone. One, I improve my public speaking skills. Number two, I improve my vocabulary or stock knowledge by reading Wikipedia and something new about the topic that I'm going to discuss. And number three, hopefully I could help you by sharing what I learned. And so going back, so feeding the multitude as a whole, the feeding the 5,000, uh, as an overview of that, it's called feeding the multitude and is a term used to refer to two separate miracles of Jesus reported in the Gospels. So when I read this one, it actually makes me think, oh, I actually thought there's just one entry of this one in the Bible. And reading some entries into it, down to the analysis, some commentators note the differences between some of the details of the account as a means of emphasizing that there were two distinct miracles. So, the feeding of the multitude is not only the feeding of the 5,000, which is what the word is today, there's also the feeding of the 4,000. So that's a trivia, guys. But I wouldn't be delving into it more this time. I will just focus on the gospel or the word for today, and that is feeding the 5,000 in Mark 6:30. So I'm just gonna breeze through the word, and I hope you are listening so you could also remember as I talk about it more. Jesus feeds the 5,000. The apostles returned to Jesus and told him all that they had done and thought. And he said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a desolate place and rest for a while." For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. And they went away in the boat to a desolate place by themselves. Now many saw them going and recognized them, and they ran there on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion on them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. And when it grew late, his disciples came to him and said, "This is a desolate place, and the hour is now late. Send them away to go into the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat." But he answered them, "You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "Shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give it to them to eat?" And he said to them, "How many loaves do you have? Go and see." And when they had found out, they said, "Five and two fish." Then he commanded them all to sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups by hundreds and by fifties. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and said a blessing, and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples to set before the people. And he divided the 2 fish among them all. And they all ate and were satisfied. And they took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces and of the fish, and those who ate the loaves were 5,000 men. So, sorry for the blabbering. I actually didn't read this for some time. So my tongue is a little, rusty. But I'm gonna straighten them on my next podcast. So bear with me, guys. Okay, so continuing. This morning, our pastor, Pastor Brian, cited some very awesome points in this word. And um, I actually wasn't actively listening on the service this morning as we were eating while the service is on, but there are I remembered five things out of the service. So that is, I had a mnemonic of it. It's I, P, A, M, and S. So as when Pastor Brian shared the the when Pastor Brian's shared the word in the service, he talked about he kind of connected the the message having like if you are going through something today, it's like it's God's invitation for you. But thankfully for me, it I didn't get to connect to the going through something, because thankfully God has been awesome, and although I have dandruff right now and my pickles is all over the place, I still feel awesome and thankful that God is providing for us, and so there's really nothing to worry about and be anxious. So what I could think of is that the the eye pumps that I learned from this morning service is I could relate it to my current activities this month, or starting last month. When I hear when I internalize the things that our pastor discussed this morning, I automatically relate it to my new activities that started yesterday. So there are a lot of activities yesterday. If you have listened to my podcast yesterday, where I talk about the organizations that I have been and will start, it will give you an idea what are those. But if you haven't listened, so I'll just give you an overview. So yesterday was kind of a busy day for me. So it started with me attending my an early meeting, prayer meeting with my life group, my wife's life group. That's 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then after that, I have a another meeting with the with the organization in my company, where I will be leading the cluster for women in Cebu. So that's 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So after that, there's at 8 p.m. there's also a leadership training for the new life group leaders in our church. So it's so it has been a busy Saturday for me, and I thank the Lord for all that opportunities, because it's just so awesome, because these passing days or the last few months, I have really been thinking in stepping up into learning more about being a leader. Um, I have always been a leader, but unfortunately, or I don't think it's unfortunate, but I've always been doing things on my own. But last few days I realized that I really need to actively seek mentorship and to find someone or a group of people to hone my skills in leadership, because in order for me to grow, in order for me to improve as a person, and to and for God to be able to use me effectively, I need to be able to embrace embrace my leadership skills, be comfortable with it, and be willing to be trained more. Because because leadership, I have always believed that being what do you call this, that I am really born to be a leader, and sometimes I can be very prideful in my leadership, because I just believe that I'm good. I don't really have to learn anything more, because I've done this and those things. So, and God really humbled me, and opened my eyes that if I just empty myself and be willing to be used by Him, there's a lot of things that I could learn. And I'm so grateful that the only thing that I did is just to open up to God, and and obey in his teachings and in his wisdom, to just empty myself and be willing to be mentored, or to just empty what I learned about leadership, and he will just guide me. And I'm so thankful that all these things has happened to me after I just decide that, God, okay, so I'm gonna just be mentored, although it's hard, but I'll do it. So yeah, it's very exciting and it's very awesome. So going back to the learnings this morning, so it sometimes when I attend a service, and I just listen to a message, it always speak or spoke to me, like it's as if God is telling me that, Kring, you should listen to this, because this is what I want you to know. And true enough, that's what I felt this morning. So going back on to the first point that Pastor Brian stressed, and that is invite. So the first point, invite, is God will invite you into something, and it's up to you to go into the next step or to disobey. So the first step is invite. So God will just say, like, He will, in all your personal devotions or your relationship connect, like you talk to God, right? On your prayers, or even in your little throughout the day, you talk to Him. So if He suggests something and then put something in your head, it's it's the invite that God will tell you, and it's up to you to pick it or not and go to the next step, and that is participate. As for me, I really thought that the invite that God sent me was that is I would be willing to empty my the things that I have learned for being a leader, so that He could help me be the leader that He wants me to be. It's actually hard. Believe me, it's hard. It's hard, friends, because I already learned a lot of things from 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 all the experiences I have from leading personal and professional goals, and God telling me to just humble myself and be willing to be mentored and learn something new is not easy, but now that I'm into it, I realize that there's actually nothing to be afraid of. Like, why would I be afraid of something new? If this doesn't work, I'll just if this doesn't work, so maybe it will just be added in my learning learning diary. So, and besides, God will always be with me, so why would I be afraid? So, yep, from God's invite, so I went into the participate. So I participate. When I when he presented the opportunity without I not really without second thoughts, but with a lot of thoughts, because it's very hard right now to just go and go, considering that I'm now a mom to Unyara and a very supportive wife to my husband July, and we are already in our own house, so it's just really us. And although we have Lani to do to do the other course, but I still actually cook. So that's just something that I would want to do for a long time. So, and then I also have my work and I have my passion project. So it's not actually easy to just participate in the things that God wants me to do. But I trust in Him. I know that He has been with me and He has led me to a lot of activities and to a lot of decisions in my life, and he has always made it more awesome. So whatever happens to this invite that he is sending me, I'm comfortable because I know that he will be with me. The third point in the IPAMS is the administer. So the first part is the invite. It's God suggesting you to do something. Then number 2, it's your call to participate. So the number 3 is administer. So this part has really hit me because leadership is all about administration. So, and I have these ways in leading or administering people and doing a lot of things, but right now, as I empty myself to God's guidance, I would really try to follow His guide in leading the new organizations or the new groups that I would be having in this season. So it's scary because I always I'm not the type who just delve into something that I don't know, but I wouldn't let something that I don't know limit me to doing something that I know. And that something that I know is that God, no matter how hard it is, God will always find a way to help me. And it will be hard for sure, but I'm comfortable that whatever happens, I will always find something to be happy about. For everything, there's always a silver lining. So I'm not afraid to change and administer and accept because God is with me. And I'm not sure if it's gonna be awesome, but I'm just trusting in Him. So the third point is multiplication. So after the administering, after whatever activity it is that God is wanting you to do, after taking the invite, participating in it, and administering, doing your thing in how to administer that something, then comes the multiplication. So the multiplication is when blessings are provided by God to you and to the organization that you are you are administering or something. So from the invite to the participation to the administering to the multiplication. So the fourth is God's reward to you for doing the first three. And sometimes the multiplication doesn't just stop, like the blessing doesn't stop there. If you're like for me, in my thought is that once once my organization and the group that I am with will be blessed, it doesn't stop there because the last part is the S, the supplication. So the supplication is something that from the scraps of what you have been giving, the blessing from God, you giving it to others to share, there is always something that will be left with you from it. And that is the supplication. From the Jesus feeds the 5,000, the supplication is that even though there are only 5 loaves and the 2 fish, but by giving it to God, by Him blessing the very little food that the disciples have, and Jesus making it to like multiplying it to a lot more to be able to feed the 5,000. And then after, there are 12 baskets full of broken pieces and of the fish. And if you may have recalled, there are 12 disciples. So from that little something, all the 12 disciples gained something out of it. I'm not really the type of person who do things with a hidden agenda. Like when people ask me, "What can you get out of it? Why are you doing podcasting? Why do you like to volunteer? Why do you like to help people?" I just actually sometimes I just, oh, why why are people asking me this? Like, isn't it plain that I'm just doing it because this makes me happy? But later on I realized that maybe it's just the nature of human, or it's just the nature of human to ask what's in it for me. And as for me, for all these invitations that God has sent me and I have accepted with all my heart and with all my soul and with full trust that He will lead me all through every steps. When asked what's in it for me, well, I only have one answer, and that is when the day that God will ask me in the door to His heaven, I could answer, Lord, I believe, but I'm not very sure that I have done my part in what you wanted me to do. And I hope it is enough, but if it's not, you are my creator and I am yours, so it's up to you to decide. But at least from the little life that I have here on earth, I have done my part and able to make a difference. So that's it, friends. So I have already shared to you what I learned this morning about the word. As I recall, there are 5 points that I have cited, and that is I, invite, P, participate, A, administer, M, multiply, and S, supplication. So hopefully you will use these IPAMs in whatever it is that you will start, and really ask yourself if it's something that God has given you, and then check if you could apply these IPAMs in all your activities. And I hope, and as usual, thank you for listening. God bless you always, and remember, put God first and the rest will follow. Before closing, I would like to personally thank again everyone for the kind words and feedback. So that's it. Bye bye, guys, and have a blessed, awesome weekdays ahead. It will be another busy Monday and a busy week, especially now that we are already in GCQ. So stay safe, and please, 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 if you have if you have nothing else to do, don't go outside. Just stay indoors. Let's keep this peace that we have. And for always, always, bye bye.
This episode of Life with Kring on Air was brought to you with love and prayers. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to hear more, please subscribe and share what you think at lifewithkring.wordpress.com. And as always, have a blessed day and remember that we are not made to survive, but we were made to thrive. Happy thriving, friends!